President Goodluck Jonathan has called for objectivity from critics in assessing the first 2 years of his administration. While many observers commend Nigeria's macroeconomic stability as seen in its relatively stable naira and declining inflation, many criticize the president's record on addressing corruption and insurgency in northern Nigeria. To discuss the president's midterm assessment, I'm joined on the line right now by Patson Ekeocha. He's a fellow at the African Institute of Applied Economics. Thank you so much, Patson, for joining us. And like I mentioned, I think there are mixed views on the assessment of the president's performance in the first 2 years. Of course, the positives we can take away is that we're seeing GDP at up 6.5% growth. That is not bad at all. We have seen the naira relatively stable. We see foreign exchange reserves at about $50 billion. And of course, inflation now down to single digits. Your thoughts on, if we can start from the economic issues, your thoughts on how well this administration has performed?
Yeah, the administration has performed fairly well. Talking about the indices you just ruled out, in fact, that it's really a macroeconomic stability. You know, we have reserves of 50 billion, inflation is coming down to single digit, and the GDP is growing at 6.56%, you know, at least in the first quarter. That's a welcome development, you know, but when one now considers the contribution, you know, the sectoral contribution to that particular growth, you see that, well, in fact, the concerns of many Nigerians, even the former President Obasanjo in Jigawa, well, saying that it might not really be some kind of proper growth.
Right. And of course, the criticism is usually around the fact that the growth hasn't been too inclusive. But we have seen some progress in job creation. Your thoughts on that front?
Yeah, well, I would say that people should really wait until until next year or next 2 years because of some other programs which the federal government has rolled out, Shopee, Yeso, and all that. You know, it will take a little time, you know, for that particular program to start bearing fruit. But as we still know it, well, unemployment is still at 21-point-something% where it is. You know, that the effect of that particular program hasn't really been felt all that. But, well, there are programs on the way to make sure that unemployment is reduced, especially youth unemployment.
All right. Of course, if we touch the issue of corruption, the government, in trying to address that, points to the probe into the fuel subsidies. But of course, it's difficult to ignore the big issue around corruption in Nigeria, which is the oil theft, costing Nigeria billions of dollars every year. Your thoughts on how well we're tackling the issue of corruption and the impact it is having on economic growth?
Yeah, of course, you know, oil has been, in fact, it has been said that Nigeria is a monoproduct economy, and oil seems to be what we are exporting very well in order to make sure that we increase our revenue. And the oil theft has really been a bane, you know, of Nigeria's economy because over time, you know, there was traction at some point when the president tackled that headlong, but it does appear that they now seem to be on the loose. Nobody knows, but people have said in some quarters maybe it's around 2015 and all that. And what Nigeria loses, in fact, 1 billion, the whole year it could even amount to 1 trillion, what Nigeria loses through oil theft. And this might not really mean well for the economy.
Right, certainly a worrying trend there. And as we wrap up, a final point I think I would like to hear about is what many people that commend the government also point to, the reforms we're seeing in the agriculture space. Your thoughts on the progress we're seeing and the impact this is likely to have going forward?
Yeah, in fact, there has been giant strides in the agricultural sector, but when you now go down, you know, looking at the subsectors within that, yeah, crop production, you know, when you look at its contribution to GDP at current basic price, you know, percentage distribution, it's 24.22%. But when you now consider all others, fishing, other aspects of agriculture, they seem not to be doing well. However, we've really made giant strides in that area. And mind you, agriculture, manufacturing, these are areas that seem to, you know, provide the pool that will increase our GDP and as well reduce the rate of
Right.
unemployment in Nigeria.